Hey everybody, Tim here for tonight's episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 2, Episode 7, Those Old Scientists. Okay, I'm not even gonna lie. Like, strap in, get comfortable, get some popcorn. I don't know, pause it if you need to. This is gonna be a long video. I have so much to say. I took so many notes, I can't even fit it all on one screen. Like, I'm gonna have to scroll through this, so y'all are gonna have to bear with me for a little bit. I'm going to try to keep it pretty tight and just kind of move through it as quickly as I can. This may be my favorite episode of Star Trek ever. Now, that being said, it's so good because it relies on all of the knowledge beforehand. So it's kind of like if somebody said like Galaxy Quest, for example, is the best Star Trek movie ever. Well, why? Because you have all of the years beforehand to kind of go off of the mythology. You get the jokes, you get the lore. Same for this. There are so many jokes. There is like a joke and reference every minute of this episode. It's insane how fast it goes. Like I said, I'm not going to cover all of them. I'm just going to cover a bunch of them. So if I miss one that you think is really, really good, please let me know in the comments. Now, this episode is a crossover, ambitious as fuck, for Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds, obviously. I'll tell you right now, I would give every cent in my bank account to get another episode like this. So, but we'll see. Because I know at this point, Lower Decks was still going, and it's not anymore. So, we'll see. It brings Jack Quaid and Tawny Newsome, who played Boimler and Mariner, to live action. So it's insane. Now, for one, I think I've mentioned this before, the Stardate logs are just cracking me the fuck up. Just going from Strange New Worlds to Lower Decks, and even as I've been watching Starfleet Academy, like the Stardate logs are just getting ridiculous. And when he's just like, oh yeah, 5 digits, that's normal. I'm already 100% part of this. Them talking about portals, at first I thought it was going to be the one that we saw in the original series, the Guardian portal. I was wrong, whatever. And them talking about Tendy's great-grandmother, I was like, okay, we get some stuff, we get some foreshadow going. As soon as he crosses over and it's like, you guys look very realistic, I was like, oh, I get the humor. I know where this is going, and I'm for it. The credits, as I think I just said in a different episode, different video, I typically skip the opening credits. This one I did not because it's so good. And just seeing like the typical Strange New Worlds credits, but animated with little Lower Decks humor in there. Loved it. Also, worth noting that this episode is directed by Jonathan Frakes, aka Commander Riker. Now, I own most Starfleet uniforms because I like to go to conventions and stuff. I have an original series, I have the Next Generation, I have a Deep Space Nine. I absolutely hate the gray uniforms that they ended up going to, but I do have one that like Picard wore, where it's the red shirt, but he just wore the gray vest. I have that one. I have the original series movies, like you see in like The Wrath of Khan. And watching this, I have to buy a Lower Decks uniform. Like, it looked so good in live action. It looked beautiful. And just Boimler being Boimler. Like, Jack Quaid did so good. For one, Jack Quaid is like fucking 6 feet tall. He might be as tall as I am, if not taller. So watching him tower over all of these people, I need to look up how tall Jack Quaid is. Was great. I loved all of that. And just like the little jokes, like on Worf's honor, crap. When he goes to sit on the saddle, he yells Riker because he's like swings his leg over. The little joke about the tricorder where he's like, is that a TS-120 or is that a 122? Oh, look at that. I got that one. And then I also love where they talk about the flipping part's the best part. Look at that. I got props. That's how much I love this episode. It was just so good. The whole thing of Spock, the worst part about this episode is Spock's subplot of him laughing and making everybody uncomfortable. Literally, if you cut that whole part out, every time Spock laughs or smiles and it makes Boimler and Mariner uncomfortable, if you cut every scene of that out, you wouldn't miss a beat. Like, it would just flow perfectly. So it was kind of, I understand that's part of the underlying Strange New Worlds plot. Didn't need to be there. Where Boimler walks on the bridge is brilliant, and he's talking about like, this is the 1701 Enterprise dash nothing. And of course, that dash, like, what would be after the dash? That is a great reference, in my opinion, to the Next Generation episode Relics that had Scotty, James Doohan, appear, and he's like, no bloody A, B, C, D. So, like, little stuff like that is great. And the dialogue is just so rich. Just Pike being like, I can hear you, right? It's so good. Something I thought was interesting, I don't know if it's intentional or not, I actually had to look it up. When Boimler finally gets his shit together and they're about to go back through the portal, it's at like the 24-minute mark, which is exactly how long a Lower Decks episode is. So it's like, hey, that was Boimler's adventure, now it's over. Just kidding! Here comes Mariner. Oh my god, Mariner's so good. Everything was so good. Again, with the references where she's like, you could have been in a dystopian San Francisco riot or something. What did she say? Something like that. Which is a reference to Deep Space Nine, the Bell riots, which technically I think was supposed to happen last year, in 2025, I think. So hey, we're past that. Them talking about young Spock being hot. Boimler's walk was fucking nailed to a T. The scene where number one shows up and Boimler just like does his like little sachet walk thing away, but like speed walks it was like, I don't even know how they got Jack Quaid to be so good. Jack Quaid's amazing in everything. If you guys haven't seen like Companion or the Scream movies or Novocaine, like Jack Quaid is such a good actor. And just watching him encompass Boimler in live action made my whole day. Talking to Uhura was a lot of fun. I wish Nichelle Nichols could have been involved somehow. I understand why she wasn't, but because I think she was still alive when this came out. But it really felt encompassing when Mariner is talking to Uhura. Like, you're fun and you're gonna do stuff. Like, all I was getting was flashbacks of Uhura in the original series where like she's dancing and singing and stuff like that. It was very reminiscent. I think it did a really good job. Them talking about Nausicaans and they're terrible at Domjot is a great Next Generation reference to Nausicaans being the ones that stabbed Picard in the heart because of Domjot. Pila had a decent scene for someone who lives thousands of years. I was kind of hoping for more. I actually hope we see Pila in an episode of Lower Decks because I'm not fully caught up on that. But her giving the Cary Grant quote was a little bit weird. Like the I pretended to be a man until I became him thing. I was like, we see stuff like that from Spock and other like, only Nixon could go to China type quote, stuff like that. As I'm sure I've named to a bunch of you before, or if you've seen my other videos, Q, signed by John Delancey, by the way, is my absolute favorite character in Star Trek. And so when he's like, holy Q, and like, you can't say that. They have a Trelane situation going on. I absolutely love Trelane and like the whole theory of Trelane being Q. You love how I just reach over for these props. Which, by the way, Q Squared is a fantastic book written by both Peter David and John Delancey. Absolutely love it. And it talks about how Trelane is basically Q's like grandson. And so I love that. I thought that was a great reference to both of those characters. Again, I don't know if I'm even reading at this point. I feel like I'm reading too much into the references because when she's like, "Oh yeah, Boimler dressed up as you for Halloween," and we're talking about like the jawline, I was like, "Is that a Shatner reference?" Because for those of you that don't know, like Halloween, like Mike Myers is a Kirk mask, and so I was like, "Wait, is that has to be a Shatner reference to him dressing up for Halloween. Pike talking about the age his father died brought it home. It brought it really real. Especially like for me, my mother died when I was relatively young, and I'm not quite there yet. I'm almost actually to the halfway point. And so like to know like, hey, I'm approaching on that. And it's like it's a weird like self-reflection. And so that made this whole like kind of jokey episode really real for a second, at least for me, for somebody who's kind of gone through that. As somebody who actually liked Enterprise, not all of Enterprise, it had its flaws. Go watch those videos. Find the playlist. To talk about the NX-01 Archer's Enterprise was a lot of fun. They even like name dropped with Mayweather and Soto and talked about the grapplers, which I even remember the first video for Enterprise that I did where I talk about the grapplers because they didn't have the tractor beams. So stuff like that was a lot of fun. I actually thought they were going to go for the Scorch at first. Like I was like, oh, is that why the Scorch is such a big thing in the last episode that we watched? It's like, oh, nope, it was just something completely just under the floor, whatever, it doesn't matter. Other little jokes that kind of stood out to me was when they finally get back and it goes back to being animated and Ransom is like, number one was the hottest first officer in history. I mean, that's ironic and funny because Ransom is voiced by Jerry O'Connell. Number one is played by Rebecca Romijn. They're married in real life. And like they're both commanding officers, which I think that's kind of ironic. But the fact that they're married, they're both in Star Trek. So of course he's going to be like, she was super hot. And then just the last part of the episode with the Strange New World cast being animated and like, what's in these drinks? Cheers. Holy fuck. Like it's references for days. Like this is forever. And every joke lands perfect. The acting is perfect. Like Boimler and Mariner, or like Jack Quaid and Tawny Newsome, do such a good job of being live action, but they embody their characters so well. Like when she's talking to Boimler, and she's like, "I will kill you if you mess this up for me." Like it's so good, and you just see it animated. Like they embodied the characters. It was phenomenal. It was easily one of the best episodes of Star Trek I have ever seen, ever. So I'm curious because I remember when this came out and I remember a lot of people complaining and just being like, I don't watch Lower Decks. Why am I going to watch this? And I'm curious what other people are thinking. Did you watch it? I think even Boimler's hair looked great. I think there is an age gap. So like Boimler's joke of like, I'm actually a man, landed perfectly. I'm curious what you guys think. Like, I could go on forever. I love it. I'm just going to gush over this whole episode for forever. And like I said, I don't know if they could do a sequel because I would love to see Rediford and Tandy like come to live action also. Like, I would love to see all of them. Like, I want more. I need more of this. But now that I know Lower Decks is over, so I don't know if we'll ever get another one. But hey, I can hope. Fingers crossed. So what did you guys think? Did I go on way too long? Probably. Would you want another one? Let me know. Thank you guys for everything. And I will see you guys. I got to scroll down. I don't even know. Oop. I will see you guys next time for Under the Cloak of War.